Someone inside the CIA wanted Joe captured, and they're still sitting in that building right now. That's not a wild theory anymore. That's the only explanation that actually makes sense once you start lining up everything Lioness has been quietly showing us for the last 4 episodes. Because think about it. The Russians didn't get lucky. They didn't outsmart the most powerful intelligence agency on Earth through pure skill. Somebody handed them the map. And if that's true, then Joe's capture was never a failure of the mission. It was the mission, just not the one anyone told her she was running. Let's start with the person everyone should already be side-eyeing. Alexandra. Because nothing about her behavior adds up, and the show wants you to notice that. She walks in, hands the CIA intel on Euromorph, and asks for basically nothing in return. No leverage. No demands. No price. In a world where every single character on this show is trading secrets for survival, somebody offering information for free isn't generous, she's dangerous. People who operate the way Alexandra operates don't give away power. They invest it. So the real question isn't whether she helped the CIA. It's what she gets when the CIA finally realizes what that help actually cost them. And here's where it gets worse. Byron already admitted that months of intelligence tied to Euromorph might have been planted. Not wrong. Not outdated. Planted. That single word changes everything, because it means Joe wasn't hunting a target. She was being walked toward one. Every lead that felt real, every piece of intel that checked out, every step that made the operation look legitimate, all of it could have been built by someone who knew exactly where she'd end up. And the moment she got there, she got caught. That's not bad luck. That's a trap with a very long fuse. So who lit it? This is where Operation Treasure stops looking like a side plot and starts looking like the whole point. On the surface, it's just another program trying to root out compromised assets. But flip that around for a second. If the CIA is getting close to exposing someone at the top, that person doesn't just sit there and wait to get caught. They protect themselves. And the easiest way to protect yourself when someone's closing in isn't to fight back directly, it's to remove the threat before they finish connecting the dots. Joe wasn't just close to the truth. She may have been the biggest obstacle standing between a mole and their own survival. And moles don't get nervous. They get strategic. That's what makes her capture feel so calculated. If the Russians simply wanted to punish Joe or eliminate her, they had chances. They didn't need an elaborate operation involving a plane, international boundaries, and a countdown clock. But if they need her alive, if she's leverage in something much bigger than one mission, then keeping her breathing suddenly makes perfect sense. She's not a prisoner anymore. She's insurance. And insurance only has value to people who are protecting something enormous. Now put yourself in Caitlyn's position for a second, because this is where the mole theory gets personal. Caitlyn gave the order that could get Joe killed. Not because she stopped caring. Because she's trained to weigh one life against an entire operation. But what if the intelligence she's using to make that decision is already compromised? What if the very information guiding her next move was shaped by the same person who set Joe up in the first place? That would mean Caitlyn isn't just making an impossible choice, she's making it blind, inside a system that's already been infiltrated. And if that's true, every order she gives from this point forward could be exactly what the mole wants her to give. Doesn't that change everything you thought you understood about this season? Because if somebody inside the CIA has been quietly steering this operation from the shadows, then nothing that's happened so far was random. Not Joe's target. Not her capture. Not the timing of the Russians' next move. Every single piece was placed on the board by someone who's been sitting in the room the entire time, nodding along, pretending to help find the very person they set up. And the scariest part? That person hasn't been exposed yet. They're still there. Still trusted. Still one step ahead of everyone trying to bring Joe home. So if the mole is real, who does that actually point to? Because once you start looking at who benefits from Joe disappearing, the list of suspects gets a lot shorter than you'd want it to be, and one name on that list should make your stomach drop. The name that keeps circling back is Byron, and once you actually sit with that for a second, it stops feeling like a wild accusation and starts feeling uncomfortably logical. Byron is the one who told everyone the Euromorph intelligence might have been compromised for months. Think about how convenient that admission is. If you were the person feeding false information into the system, the smartest move you could ever make is to be the one who discovers the leak. That way, you're never the suspect. You're the guy who caught the problem. You're the one everyone trusts a little more, not a little less. That's not proof. But it's exactly the kind of move a mole would make if they were smart enough to survive this long without getting caught. And here's what makes it even messier. Byron isn't just handling intelligence. He's handling the political side of this entire crisis, the side where Maxim Petro is making it very clear that Russia expects something in return for what's happened. That's not the language of a country that captured an enemy by accident. That's the language of a country that planned an exchange. Someone. Something. A deal. And if Byron is the person managing that negotiation from the American side, then he's sitting in the exact position to control how much the CIA actually knows, how fast they act, and how the entire operation plays out from here. That's either a coincidence, or it's the most dangerous seat in the entire story. But let's not let Alexandra off the hook yet, because her story might connect to Byron in a way nobody said out loud. What if she isn't working against the CIA? What if she's working with someone inside it? That would explain everything that felt strange about her. Why she gave up real intelligence without demanding anything back. Why she knew exactly how deep the senator's corruption went. Why she seems to always be 3 steps ahead of everyone trying to read her. A double agent doesn't need to lie about everything. She only needs one person on the inside guiding her which truths to hand over and which ones to protect. And if that person is connected to Byron, or worse, is Byron, then Alexandra was never playing the CIA. She was playing exactly the role she was told to play. Now here's the part that should really unsettle you. If Byron is protecting himself, then every decision he's made this season needs to be looked at differently. When he pushed for aggressive action. When he downplayed certain risks. When he insisted the mission continue even as red flags kept appearing. None of that reads as leadership anymore. It reads as damage control. A man trying to keep a much bigger secret buried while pretending to fight for the people who are actually risking their lives to uncover it. And if Joe's team ever gets close enough to expose that secret, Byron isn't going to fight fair. He's going to do whatever it takes to protect himself, even if that means sacrificing the very people who trusted him. So think about where that leaves Joe right now. Trapped on a plane, being carried further from American protection with every passing minute, while the person who might be responsible for putting her there is sitting safely inside CIA headquarters, calmly discussing next steps like he's not the reason there are next steps to discuss. That's the kind of betrayal this show does better than almost anything else on television. Not a dramatic villain twirling a mustache. A quiet, calm, trusted face who's been steering the disaster the entire time. And Caitlyn is the one who's going to have to live with the fallout of trusting the wrong person. If Byron really is the mole, then every order she's given, every risk she's taken, every impossible decision she's made this season was shaped by information coming from someone who wanted Joe exactly where she is right now. That's not just a professional failure. That's personal. Caitlyn has spent this entire season trying to protect the people underneath her while somebody above her was quietly making sure she never had a fair shot at doing it. So here's the real question heading into episode 5. Is Byron the mole everyone's been missing, or is he just the most convenient person to blame while the real traitor stays completely invisible? Because if Lioness has taught us anything, it's that the most obvious suspect is rarely the one holding the knife. And if the real mole is still sitting somewhere nobody's even looking, then Jo isn't just fighting to survive Russia. She's fighting to come home to a system that might betray her all over again.